I used to enjoy being alone in the bush. After the fire tower, that changed. I took the lookout job sometime in the early 2000s, seasonal work, a few weeks at a time during the worst part of summer. Back then, there was still a few towers operating out in the more remote parts of the ranges. The job itself was simple. You sat up there through the day scanning the horizon for smoke. If you saw something, you radioed it in before it turned into a real fire. Long hours and quiet work. Most people probably would have hated it, but I didn't mind. I'd grown up in the bush, camping, hunting, working outdoors. Being alone out there had never really bothered me. If anything, I liked it. The tower I got assigned to stood on top of a rocky ridge, maybe 30 meters above the tree line. Just a metal ladder bolted into the frame and a little wooden cabin at the top. From up there you could see kilometers of bush in every direction. Nothing but eucalyptus forest and steep rolling hills away into the distance. During the day it was almost peaceful. Wind with the trees, the odd bird. Sometimes if the air was right you could hear a vehicle somewhere on a dirt road a long way off. At night though, the place felt different. From that height you could see just enough of the forest below to know something can move through it without you ever getting a proper look at it. But at the time, I didn't think much of that. I'd spent most of my life in the bush and nothing out there had ever really made me feel uneasy before. However, on the second night in that tower, I noticed something moving near the base of the ladder. At first, it wasn't obvious. It was just a shift in the trees below. From inside the cabin, you could see the ground near the ladder if you leaned out far enough, but most of the bush disappeared into the shadows and branches. Still, something moved. Slow and careful. Not the way kangaroos usually move. I grabbed the spotlight and leaned out the window, angling the beam down towards the base of the tower. There was nothing there. No person, no animal, just dirt, scrub, and branches moving slightly in the breeze. I sat back down and told myself it was probably just a ruse that I had lost sight of through the trees. At night, looking down through those branches, your eyes can make something out of almost nothing. Even so, I kept glancing back toward the ladder side of the tower every few minutes after that. Nothing else moved that night. At least, not while I was looking. The next night was when things started to get strange. It was sometime after midnight when I heard the first clang, a sharp metallic ring coming up through the tower. At first I thought something in the frame had shifted. Metal towers make noise. They creak, they tick as the temperature changes. But then it happened again. And again. Even louder that time. I stood up and went over to the window facing the ladder. From inside the cabin you couldn't see the whole thing, just the lower section where it met the ground, and maybe halfway up if you leaned out far enough. The rest disappeared under the platform in the hatch. I grabbed the spotlight and swept the beam down. Nothing. I kept the light on the ground for a few seconds, then pulled it back in. That was when I heard it again. Another clang. Not from the ladder that time. A rock hitting one of the metal support legs. I leaned back out with the spotlight straight away, and this time I caught something that made my stomach tighten. A rock was still rolling across the dirt under the tower, and there was no one there to have thrown it. I climbed down the next morning first thing to check the ground. I didn't want it sitting in my head all day. From up in the cabin it was easy to convince myself I'd imagined it, but if someone had really been down there throwing rocks at the tower, there had to be some sign of it. By the time my boots hit the dirt, the bush was already warming up in the morning sun, and almost straight away, something felt off. It's hard to explain unless you've spent a lot of time alone out there. Sometimes your body notices it before your mind does. The place just feels wrong. And then I smelt it. Rotting. Faint at first, but strong enough that once I picked it up, I couldn't stop noticing it. Like something dead in the scrub nearby. My first thought was a roo or a pig. You come across that sort of thing all the time in the bush. But still, I didn't go looking for it. Something about that smell made the whole area around the tower feel wrong. I walked around the base instead. It didn't take long to find the rocks. 3 of them, lying in the dirt near one of the support legs, about the size you could throw easily in one hand. I picked one up and turned it over. The metal leg beside me had fresh scrape marks where it had been hit. So at least that much had been real. But that was all there was. No footprints, no broken branches, no sign anyone had been near the place. Just dirt, scrub, and that smell drifting through the trees. I'd had enough of being down there. I turned back to the ladder. The moment my boot hit the first rung, something shifted in the bush behind me. Not far, maybe 15 meters into the trees. Just one movement, like something adjusting its weight. I didn't turn around. I just climbed. And after that, I didn't come back down from that tower for 2 whole days. By the 3rd night, it was starting to get to me. The wind had dropped off completely, which somehow made the bush feel worse. Every sound carried further in still air, branches moving, the odd bird somewhere out in the trees, even the tower frame ticking as it cooled. But then I heard it. At first I thought it was someone calling out from the bush. The sound was faint, somewhere beyond the edge of the spotlight, but when I stopped and really listened, something about it wasn't right. It sounded like a voice, but the sounds weren't forming properly, like someone trying to say words they didn't quite know. Broken syllables, a stretched out sound that almost resembled a name but never quite became one. I leaned out the window with the spotlight and swept the beam across the trees. The sound stopped immediately. The moment I pulled the light back in, it started again. After that, I didn't sleep. By the 4th day, I was running on almost nothing. Every little sound made me jump. The smell drifted in and out of the cabin all afternoon, and every time it did, I found myself looking toward the hatch in the floor, listening, waiting. Night came again, and sometime after midnight, I felt the tower shift. Not a sound, a movement. A slow weight settling into the structure. Something had stepped onto the ladder. The ladder was bolted directly into the frame, and when someone climbed it, you felt it through the whole tower. Only slightly, but enough. I leaned out the window with the spotlight and aimed it down. The ladder hung empty in the beam. I pulled the light back in. The moment the beam left the ladder, the tower shifted again. Another rung. I shone the light down. Nothing. I pulled it back. It was another careful step. That was when it finally sank in. Whatever was climbing the ladder only moved when I wasn't looking. Eventually, the climbing stopped a few rungs below the hatch, but then that smell came again, even stronger that time. And after that, I think I heard it breathing. Not loudly, just air moving slowly beneath the platform. There was something wrong with the way it breathed. It was too slow, uneven. Like whatever it was trying not to be heard. I didn't open the hatch, not that night. I stayed where I was until the sky started to lighten. When morning finally came, I made myself move. I unlatched the hatch and pushed it open slowly. The ladder was exactly where it always was, empty. No animal, no person, just the metal rungs disappearing toward the ground. Then I saw what had been left on the top rung, right beside the hatch. One of the rocks in the base of the tower, placed there carefully. Close enough that if I'd opened the hatch during the night, my hand would have landed on it. I left that tower the same morning, and I haven't spent another night alone in the bush since, because looking back on it now, Whatever climbed that ladder wasn't trying to get into the tower. It was waiting for me to open the hatch.